I'm never not gonna think about when we found like the car that was split in half nearby your
Yeah, that's
place.
crazy. And what a great way to open this episode. Um,
We will not elaborate whatsoever.
Hello and welcome to I'll Sleep When I'm Done Talking, into which we don't sleep till we figure this shit out. I'm gonna refrain from my name, and we'll loop back around to that later.
Totally fair. I'm Damu. Every single time I try to introduce myself on here, I'm like, I'm Damon, but then it like part of me wants to be like, no, I'm Damo, because you've just done that to my name.
I have absolutely ruined your name,
You've ruined my perception of my name, is what you've done.
which is, I don't know how to describe what I've done there, but it is one of those moments of a combination of actions have consequences and a little example of influence.
Yeah.
And I didn't intend for either. I just remember when we first properly met, even though we had met each other prior. But you just being like, "Oh, I'm Damon." I'm like, "Oh, good to meet you, Damo."
Yeah.
Perfect. But while we are reflecting back on our high school days, we should probably today's episode's gender.
It's the gender
It's the
episode.
gender episode, a very special episode.
Woo!
This is one of the episodes that was kind of one of the early prompts we had from memory of like, okay, what's the show gonna be? Oh, that could be a fun episode. And yeah, here we are. Recording it. This is gonna date this episode a little bit in recording wise versus when it comes out, but I think it should be
Yeah.
said we're recording it in Pride Month.
Yeah.
And the funniest part is, this might not even, if I timed it correctly, this could not even be dated in the sense of like, it could come out when like Queensland's doing like the Pride like show and everything. But no,
Oh, the
no.
Pride Festival.
Yeah, but it's not coming out then either. It's coming out earlier. It's coming out smack bang in between both events.
Yeah.
So
Just
that's
hit that
fun.
sweet spot right in the middle of both.
Oh, definitely, 100%. But yes, today's episode's about gender because we both have it and kind of don't, but mostly do. And well, I think one of the reasons I want to do this is one, have a record. Two, I think it's always nice to hear stories.
It is.
It's always nice, especially because you hear stories and you're like, oh, I'm stupid. Ah, yeah.
I mean, that may have been your experience. Mine was more so like, oh shit, I'm not the only person who thinks that way, I guess. That's pretty cool.
That too. It's always nice, and also it's always just good to hear more queer stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like how I was gonna start this was very basic of like because I think this is also a really interesting part of your story. Is the first time you encountered trans? Because I mean it's a gender episode. We're both trans in a variety of ways. So it's like when was the first time you encountered a trans
So,
in the
like,
wild?
so unlike other topics that we've had to talk about, I don't remember exactly how many, but like, I do very distinctly remember. Well, kind of. I remember when I first encountered the word transgender. Other words, like old fashioned terms and like kind of like not really well used terms anymore, like transvestite, things like those. Very early internet days, just stuff like that, you know. You probably know the terms. I don't
We don't need to say them.
we don't need to say them. If you're aware of how the internet just was back then, you probably know the terms that
Or
I'm
just
referring to
culture
anyway.
in general.
Oh yeah, of
Like,
course.
I know your touchstone for it might be a bit more of the internet, but I'm sitting there being like, there's so much TV shows and movies and...
Oh yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, mine was a lot more internet based.
I mean, I didn't
If
get
there
on the
was,
internet till I was like at least 11, so like,
when did I get onto the internet? Way too young.
yeah,
Either 10 or 11.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I do. I'm pretty sure there was some type of TV influence as well because of just how TV was back then, but like anything I watched, it wasn't very like explicit, but also like wasn't exactly like great representation either from memory, you know? But like apart from like very early memories of like just uh transness, gender non-conforming stuff, like in general, apart from stuff that was like shown in a very like negative or just like in a light that's just making fun of it really. The first time I actually encountered like an actual trans person was like kind of early-ish days on DeviantArt, when one of the artists I had been looking up to for like a very very long time, uh, at some point like they never really came out as trans, but they like just kind of very slowly start to change things on their profile, like what their gender is, what their pronouns are, just the way they present themselves. And I didn't really understand, but because like how old was I at the time? I must have been 12 or 13 at the time, I think. And yeah, of course, like I was pretty young. I was never really exposed to transness in general, so like I didn't really know what was going on, but like didn't really didn't really do anything either. I just kind of accepted it as far as I remember. But from there, like I went to the comments of their page and I found the word transgender. So I got pretty curious about it and I started just doing random little bits of research. Well, I don't remember exactly what it was, but probably stuff like just what transgender actually means, you know? Uh, that is the first time I encountered a trans. Probably the first one for like a while until I started using DeviantArt and queer spaces more and started using things like Tumblr more.
Oh yeah, no, that would have
Yeah.
kind of skyrocketed a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
How about you?
me, I there was no good representation.
Mm,
Every memory of a representation I haven't gone back to,
mm,
but I've heard not good things. And as
yeah.
a child, I didn't assume it was good representation either. It just felt weird.
I know exactly what you mean.
A
It's
key
just one of
example
those
being the
things.
Futurama episode.
Is it the one with Bender?
Yeah, the gender bender.
Yeah,
That
I haven't gone
one
back to that episode.
that one felt weird, and it's the thing of I haven't gone back to it since I was what, like, young, like since I would have been what, like maybe 10, 9. Like I
Mm,
haven't really had much exposure to that episode. I just remember it and being like, huh. But my proper like the proper and like again like any TV, The Simpsons wasn't very good.
no.
Um, like a lot of other media stuff, it just wasn't great. So my exposure to it wasn't particularly good. Um,
Mm,
and I still didn't really get much of the words or the phrases anyway. I just got like a few things here and there and went like, okay, I feel weird about this, but I can't place what it is. But other
yeah.
people say the weirdness is this thing. I'm not 100% sure, but I suppose it's that as well. Like it's a thing of like I was getting a weird feeling about it, but I wasn't 100% too sure about it, and I was like, well,
Yeah.
okay. But my first experience, my first like the vivid experience of it was it was a good friend, one of my best friends at the time. I would have been I think maybe yeah I would have been 15. You know this person. Um, I had a crush on them, and I like we're good friends and stuff. Yeah, cool, 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 cool. And one day they're like, "Hey, I'm trans," and I was like, "Cool." I don't know what quite that means.
Mm,
And then they explained it, and he very much was like, he very much is like, okay, well, they explained it a bit. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, so I would like to use like these pronouns, and idea, like, and then like maybe a couple weeks later, I was like, oh hey, I would like if you guys could start using this name. And I was very honest, being like, look, I don't know how long this will take me to get used to it, but I'll do my best. Because I still had those weird reservations from the 2000s, being like, but not like the context or anything of like, oh, you're one of those transgenders, I'm gonna shoot you with a rocket launcher? Alright, brain. Like, I don't know, like, it's a thing of like, it was the thing I was just like, this is a very new space and territory, I don't know what to do. But then, yeah, no, the funniest part for me was I still had a crush on them, so I was like, but that doesn't make any sense. And now I'm looking at it being like, well,
But
yeah,
how?
yeah, you're bi. You really like people for their personality. Dude, it's like your number one thing, and you know that, but you're just really lost,
You're a dingus.
buddy. But yeah, that was my first, and then like from there, just in real life, there were slowly a lot more people coming out and, like, you know, realizing who they are and being like, oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, I've done this before. I know how this works. And then very, very quickly was like, yeah, no, okay, I'm on board. Yeah, no, this is like, good that people are doing this. Yeah, cool. But yeah, that was my exposure to. That was my first experience with the trans.
Yeah, I know like exactly what you mean when you're describing like the Bender episode, especially because like we were kids watching these TV shows, and like for me especially it was like YouTube stuff, like super old YouTube channels that would make skits and just, you know, like the worst kinds of like throwaway jokes that you could, you know, bottom of the barrel type of stuff that I refuse to go back to because like the memories of them aren't really all that great anyway. But like when you're a kid watching those, like it's not like it's explained to you because it's not exactly like they're jokes for kids. But you know, when you have no prior knowledge of it, you don't have any prior reservations of it. And you know, you watch like the Bender episode, like we both seen the Bender episode.
I feel like the Simpsons episode is worse.
Oh yeah, the Simpsons did it way worse, honestly.
Like, it's a thing of like the Bender episode are like my vague memories of it is like there was some bits that it was like a thing of like there's elements here that could actually lead to something good, but they don't.
Yeah.
Where the Simpsons one is just rough.
It's a lot more blatant.
I think it's one of the worst Simpsons episodes they've ever done.
Yeah.
If not the worst. But I haven't gone through 30 full seasons.
Yep. But yeah, like when you're a kid and you're thrust into like, you know, those types of attitudes, it's like, it's confusing. Because especially when I was a kid and I was confronted with adults that had very, very strong opinions about things that I didn't know anything about. Like, I kind of just didn't really know how to react except to be like, well, they're adults, so I guess I have to listen to them.
Oh, 100%. I don't know if you guys could tell. This is one of the, I guess, a serious episode. This will happen every so often. It's interesting editing because, like, in some of the funnier episodes, there will be a thing that a moment will come up, and I'm like, I'm just gonna cut that.
Yeah.
There's like an episode that's been like completely scrapped because I was like, this feels too vulnerable. Which is funny because that was the first episode we recorded. Like I went right out of the gate and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But yeah, no, so this one's going to be an interesting little experience because I have noticed that I struggle to be vulnerable in front of a microphone.
Oh, same. For sure.
Which is odd knowing me. Knowing who I am, you know who I am. You know how vulnerable I am.
You need to be protected.
Well, okay, I wasn't expecting that reaction. Okay. Okay, this is that's gonna shock editing me again. That's gonna fuck.
I mean, like even before I was like preparing to record the episode, I was kind of just thinking to myself, like, I don't want to get too vulnerable with this because there's still a lot of aspects of my identity that I don't feel comfortable sharing with the internet.
Oh no, of
And like,
course.
not because, well, no, partially because like there's still a bit of the shame from like the social stigma about it. That's kind of the main reason. I forget what the other reason is. My brain just totally trailed off.
No, hey, I get that. It's a weird, complicated thing, but that's. I still want to. I still really wanted to make this episode. One, because we have some fun gender stories, and two, again, it's very important. Stories are told. It's
Yeah,
important that people know this. It's important that
exactly.
people do know that there are other people. Oh my goodness, my mouth. Okay. Um, sorry, I just had like a weird burp. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's very. I feel like it's very important to share these stories, and you know. So with that, I do want to be like, let's try and work out where our gender journeys started as much as we want to share, of
Yeah,
course. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yes.
So I guess like since I start, yeah,
You,
I'll
I was gonna say, I'm like, it might be funny to do a bit of a timeline thing of like, you go first for years, and then I'll jump in with my story, and then we'll bounce between each other.
I like that idea quite a lot.
Yeah.
That's a cute idea. But yeah, no, it was actually probably like a year or two after I discovered that that artist was trans that I started experiencing my own kind of gender crisis. And the way it was happening was it was kind of just like this back and forth in my brain for like quite a few months of me just being like, am I trans or do I just like looking a certain way? And it was like that for a while. So like I got my hair done, which like was a pretty big deal for me because I was kind of like one of the only people in my school who looked a certain way like that because I went to an Anglican school. Everyone just looked very, very like conventional with their hairstyles because that's just what the school uniform policy was. Uh, and like long story short, I didn't stay in that school too long after that anyway.
Okay.
Not for like any not for any gender reasons though, surprisingly. Uh, but yeah, it just like I got my hair done. I started changing the way I was dressing, pretty like to the best of my ability that I could do, and I was just kind of falling down more rabbit holes like online and stuff, just reading about people's stories and stuff like that. And I was like, I was feeling pretty good about myself that I had found this out. But at the same time, there's like the other side of the coin of like, oh, well, now I've got to deal with it.
There's always that other side of that damn fucking coin. There's always that other side.
Yeah.
Fucking three-sided coins. Anyway.
Yeah. So, like, without getting into the nitty gritty about it, like, I was doing pretty rough during those years. And, like, I was a teenager. So, like, I properly found out, like, shortly after I turned 14 years old. And so, like, it was kind of just, like, a lot of ups and downs of, like, but I feel good that I found this out about myself. And, like, this makes more sense. And then it was just another thing of, like, but people aren't gonna like me for this. And I'm going to feel not very great about the way that people already treat me, but that now they're going to treat me even worse. And then after that, after I moved that school, I moved to a different Anglican school, which was worse, by the way. Their
Oh.
uniform policy was much more strict in comparison. They did not let me wear the opposite gender's uniform, like, at all. Like, that was a total no go. But the good side is that I only stayed in that school for like 2 years because I was sick of their bullshit.
That is still 2 years longer than you should have been there.
Oh yeah, it was like after, maybe after like the 6 month mark I was like, oh god, this place is the worst. And like I hit the 1 year mark, and I was like, I need to leave at some point. And then like after 2 years, I was like, I'm done. I'm gone. I need to go. And that's when I went to the same school that you went to.
I like that you went to go and use a name and then stopped. Uh, we'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Yes, yes. And some of you know it already. Some of you know the story because you tuned in for the Pridio cart that we did last year. And then some of you also know the name change because you've tuned into any other stream I do.
Yeah.
Fuck. Shit, I zoned out. Not zoned out. I lost contact with the outside world. What is happening, brain?
Hello?
Yeah, back to you, I guess. Back to you in the studio.
Let's see. Cause like how far into the future do I want to go with this before I hand over to you?
Well, because we're at... Well, look, no, my journey starts after high school, so...
Yeah, fair. I'll like... So, yeah, no, when I was 14, 15, 16, that was like probably definitely like the lowest period, I would say, because it was constantly just trying to basically like prove myself to people. And I was trying to prove myself to people who were never going to accept me and weren't going to take me seriously. If not never, then like it wasn't going to be for a very long time. And like it was just, it wasn't very, I would say like it wasn't a very healthy mindset, but like I'm gonna like be on my younger self's side and say like I was dealt a pretty shitty hand in terms of that, in terms of like the very early aspect of it, because you know like when you're young and when you're trans, when you're young, like you're kind of just trying to prove yourself, like you're trying to prove that you're not just like a dumb kid essentially. And now I'm trying to prove that I'm both trans and not a dumb kid.
That's such a very
who's
Simpsons
just going through
line.
a phase. What was that?
Like I'm not a dumb kid, that feels like a very Simpsons line.
Well, granted, I've been watching The Simpsons for a very long time.
I mean,
and we both
same,
have.
and that's how I'm able to clock it, but it was just a really interesting point of like, influence. Actions have consequences.
But yeah, it was like, it was, in short, it was just really rough. So I was trying my best to like present more masculinely, and like to the point where I was making myself miserable because, you know, it ended up being that like, you know, surprise, surprise, I still like a lot of aspects of femininity, but I didn't want to admit that to people because early stages of transition, I'm not on any like medical hormones. I'm not really quote unquote passing very well. So it's kind of like in my mind, it was basically like I have to be as masculine as I can. And if I show any signs of femininity, that means I'm no longer a boy, which is basically just toxic masculinity, but with a few extra steps. Luckily, it didn't last a super long time. And slowly I just kind of started to accept it. Like, no, I'm allowed to be feminine as well. That's not a great mindset to have, to just force myself to be masculine all the time. And like later on in high school, I just started accepting more and more aspects of my femininity. I started to like not really care as much about like what people really perceived me as. I still cared a little bit because like I was pre everything. But more so I was just like, no, I'm like I'm feminine and there's nothing wrong with that. There's like still the aspects of me that's like, you know, kind of trying to prove myself, but I'm like 17, 18 by that point, and I'm kind of just tired. kind of just tired and like wanting to move on already. And that's around the point where I kind of meet you.
Yeah, so cut back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you became friends with my good friend and also the person I had a crush on.
Yes.
And so immediately my impression was like, okay, you're cool if you're hanging out with so and so who I really like as both friend and crush. I'm like, okay, no, all right, you're cool, all right, cool. We didn't have to hang out too much, though. You were at least a person. It's also fun that in this story we get the origin of how we met.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Oh, it's so funky.
In the film class.
Yes.
Memories.
Just like random little moments of like you coming up to me like while we're doing filming projects, and you're being like, "Get a load of this." And I'm like, "I know, right?"
Yeah, you were a person I didn't get that hang out with too much, but I was like, I like your vibe, and you're a person I can make a joke to. You're a person I could literally go up to randomly, say a couple quips, and then fuck off to whoever else I'm hanging out with.
Yeah, that's how our dynamic was for almost all of high school.
Pretty much the entirety of high school. Pretty much just like
Yeah.
saunter on in, say a quip or two, then pop back over to Kyron, say a quip or two, get slapped in the face, be like, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think I even really like knew your name for the longest time. I was just like, yeah, you're that cool person who comes up to me and like makes jokes, and you're just kind of nice. I like you.
It's still crazy. It's still a thing that's like, it still kind of blows my mind a bit, which it shouldn't. But there's like people in high school thought I like not too many, but like in the sense of I was told, hey, no, I think you're cool, and I'm like, what? What do you mean? What are you on about? Like, I'm funny. I have a good personality. I don't know if I'd call myself cool.
You just had like, I mean, like same thing you thought with me. You just had a good vibe about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, now the vibes are combining to make a podcast. What?
Oh my god.
Good. But yeah, no. So yeah, we didn't really do too much interacting in high school except for like a couple clips here and there, and you were
Nah.
like tangentially related to the friend circle I was in. Like you were
Yeah.
like one person away always.
Yeah, no, because there was like the big friend circle, and it was kind of like split into two parts because it was that big. It was kind of just spread across two slightly separated areas.
Yeah, and then those two areas were like close enough, but there was still a reason of like us as a big group wouldn't hang out together, but there was enough crossover between them that you could you could look at the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, that's a big circle in the middle, huh?
Yeah. And I was just kind of like floating in between social groups.
Yeah.
Like first year I was at that school, I was kind of just like hanging around one group of people who like I didn't exactly vibe with, so like I didn't really talk to any of them, but I just stuck around the area anyway because I mean no one told me to go away. So it was fine. And then like I met the third person as part of this story, and then I kind of, well, no, before that I met like another group of people, so I started hanging out with them more often. Then I met our third member of this party, and then I kind of just like on days I would shift back and forth between like which group I would hang out with. So it's never really like solidly part of anything, but like I knew people well enough where I was like, yeah, I can just vibe with these people and they'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
And like I didn't really know that many people from like your friend group specifically.
I mean, fair
But like
enough.
I got a good enough vibe from them that I was like, yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, they're cool. The fucking me and Ethan being like, "Hey, excellent!" Haha. Fuck, we got a handshake. We got a handshake. Fuck it, people call me cool. I don't.
Oh my god,
What the
that
fuck?
cracked me up so much. With like,
I
like I the first time I noticed it, I was like, that's interesting. And then like it just kept happening, and I was like, what is going on? Is this a groundhog thing? I don't know what's happening.
It's so good. Is it the fact that we had been doing that since year 8?
Yeah, and I met you guys in
Year 11.
late year 11.
Yeah. I think my favorite one was when we shocked a teacher with it, because we were like, because we weren't in the same class, but we ran into like the lines. We're like, oh hey, excellent, and then like one of the teachers was like, Bill and Ted. We're like, yeah, Bill and Ted. Just like, huh, good for you guys.
Oh god, it's so good.
Oh fuck, that was great. That was a fucking nerdy group, and you're like, yeah, these are cool guys. I mean, hey, we had a fun vibe, mostly. Like, it was a mostly pretty fun, good time. All the Uno matches.
Oh my god.
But anyway...
It felt so chaotic whenever Uno happened over there, so I was just like, I'll just sit over here.
Yeah, we're getting sidetracked by high school.
Yeah.
We have not... I'm not even on my gender journey yet. We haven't even hit that point. But I think, yeah, because very end of high school, like, it was a Christmas party, and it happened just... Actually... Yeah, well, just before then, I guess I'll cut to a little bit of my story. At the time, I was just going around having crushes on people I didn't understand. Just being bi and not clicking that I was bi. Just being like, oh, I have a crush. And it was the thing, it was just like, I have a crush on this person, but I don't want to be transphobic. And it's like, no, buddy, honey, you dude, come on.
Honey.
It's not transphobic, it's just you're gay. Like, you don't stress.
You're just queer as hell.
You're just a little gay, and you don't, well, you're more than a little gay, but you are short, so, or average height, so, or average height. It depends on who you hang out with.
That's true. We know some real tall people and some real short people.
I know, it's wild. But heights, am I right? You can put that in a t-shirt.
Just heights,
Just
am I right?
me shrugging, being like, heights, am I right? I should actually... No, that's
a good design.
Well, I'll add it to the list.
Add it to the list.
The worst part is that's not even a joke.
It's not.
I
genuinely think that's a good design.
Shit. Anyway. So that was that experience. I met old friend who, so you can tell how that wended. Who was my first person I met who was explicitly bi.
First person you met who was like, hey, I'm bi.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, like, because I knew people, even in, like, primary school, I knew people were gay.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, this one kid I remember, like, there's, like, these two kids, and I was just, like, there's the thing of, like, and, like, even, like, as a child who doesn't know much, was like, you're not straight. Not in a bad way or anything, we weren't, like, again, I'm not a bully, and we weren't, like, making fun of him, we're just, like, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
You're just different, and that's cool. Like, you're not my friend, but you're not, like, I don't have enemies. So, like, and, like, you're not a bad person, you're just a kid. Cool.
You're not a person with enemies.
But imagine if me
if
having
you
enemies.
had enemies.
I can see it happening, but it's, like, crazy. It's, like, think of, like, for real? She's your enemy? What the fuck? That's like... It's like being enemies with a marshmallow. Like, what the fuck? Okay. Enemies with a marshmallow with a side of soft. It's a marshmallow that's blushing. What the fuck do you think? Is that your enemy? Oh, fucking aren't you tough? Oh, Jesus Christ. But yeah, no, and in our first proper interaction in which you actively introduced yourself to me, and I'm like, because I never picked up your name, so you're just like, hi, I'm Damon. I'm like, oh, thank fuck. Hi, I'm so-and-so. Hi, Damo, good to meet you. And that's how Damo was born.
That ended up being, like, a habit that I would pick up along the way as well, because, like, I would just be meeting people, and then I'd be talking to them in groups, and I'd be like, have I introduced myself to this person or not? I should do it just in case. And more often than not, it ends up being like, oh, thank fuck, I had no idea what your name was.
Yeah, it was good. But anyway, I guess we should go back to you. Well, we'll go to each other because we've hit 2020.
Yeah.
How was gender for you in 2020?
Oh man, I think gender was like kind of uneventful for me in
Same.
2020. Apart from like oh
We had
god,
other shit to deal with that year. I was
Yeah.
not thinking about gender. That was the year I realized I was bi. I
Well,
was.
it was
There you
it was
go.
uneventful for me. Apart from, I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure 2020 was the year that I started going on testosterone.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I was about to say
Yeah.
congratulations, like it hasn't been happening for years now. Congratulations for the thing that happened in 2020 that I've known for
Yeah.
ages, and yeah. Fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 2020 was when I started doing hormone replacement therapy, which was pretty cool. It was just kind of like, yeah, it was along with the fact of like other things happening. In 2020, like 2020 was more so when I was exploring like my sexuality, I guess, but
Yeah, it's
I don't know, not in like an active, explicit way, just more so
Same.
like, just more so like, oh, I'm getting a lot more crushes on people now, and it wasn't because of the testosterone. It was just because I was 19.
You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, no, fair enough. It
Yeah.
fucking cut to me at the end of like 2020 trying to do up an assessment, then messaging Eric being like, hey, can I just send a bunch of messages to you for a bit? I'm trying to work something out. I was like, sure. Me trying to solve my sexuality with math, and a particular math that I'm just actively bad at. I tried to use
Oh,
geometry to solve sexuality for myself.
I
And I
bet
walked
you're-
away being like, I fucked this. This is real bad. And Eric's like, I think you're bi, but you could be pan. Here's just some cards with like information. You read up on it and come back when you're ready. And I'm like, okay. And then I learned that, and then that was the sad moment. I also learned that not everyone got along under the rainbow.
Aw.
And I was like, what do you
That's
mean?
true.
It's a group of people who are actively trying to be accepted. What do you mean they're not going to be accepting of each other? That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
It's a very unfortunate fact.
I remember that moment very vividly.
I know. I felt the same way when I found it out.
This is
But
like,
yeah,
oh,
like
fuck.
2020, I was kind of exploring my gender during then because like I had been seeing like a fuck ton of people just to even start going on hormone replacement therapy, because it's just it's an overly convoluted process to even start
Yeah.
over here. But like I was getting excited because like, I mean, it's taking a while, but I was going to start it. So I started like exploring with my looks quite a lot. And you know, like I still didn't entirely like a quote unquote pass, but I was basically presenting myself as more like a femboy type of thing. And I started getting more like kind of femboyish types of outfits. And I was getting a lot of compliments on my outfits, like these overalls I had, which are too big for me now. But I got a nice compliment from a girl at a McDonald's one time. She was like, "Oh my god, I love your outfit," and I was like, "Oh my god, thank you so much. It's nice, isn't it?" that was kind of it. Apart from like when I actually did start going on testosterone, and like, yeah, it takes its time. So I didn't really see the full effects of it until like the end of 2020 anyway. And I was like doing a TAFE course as well, so like my mind was all over the place, I think.
I just remembered we cannot leave 2020. I just remembered that something happened at the back end of that year that actively,
Oh.
heavily influenced the gender thing and actually kicked off the gender crisis to begin with. So
Please do tell.
So 2020 was the year I also got TikTok because I was locked inside, trapped indoors, and I just wanted something else. Cause like, fuck it, I'll do an experiment with it. It's like a whole document I have of like the first 12 things to rock up on my For You page, just watching it change over the course of like a month. So there was a big thing at the time about like, and it was a big like thing going around, was being like, hey, it's just fucking cloth. Men can wear skirts. Men can wear outfits like that. It doesn't matter. It's just fabric. And I'm like, yeah. And I was chatting to Eric about it, and I was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I was chatting about a few other things, and I was like, oh, and there's like some other stuff, and Eric's like, well, you can say it if you want. We've already talked so much about so many other things. I'm like, that's fair. And let's think about like this idea about maybe wearing a skirt, but I don't know even where to start with that. And Eric's like, I could probably help a little bit with that. And I'm like, yeah, honestly, that'd be great. That'd be lovely. And at the same time was the trend going around about like getting men to wear maid outfits as well. And Eric's like, wouldn't it be funny? And then I'm like, oh, I don't know. Ding. See this? I don't know if you can see this, but that ding signified an asterisk. So we've just got to follow it to the bottom of the page. There's a bit of text here that's very important. This was the moment that I realized that a joke is no longer a joke anymore. And I got to be very careful with my jokes. I will not learn this lesson.
No, you will not.
But I will recognize this as a thing that happens. Because at this very moment, I had realized this is not a joke anymore. I was trying to think of something else to say at the end, and I was like, fuck. Okay. But I was like, ha 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 ha. Goes onto Amazon. Sees one that looks reasonably quality. Then like, it's quite cheap. What if I did it? And then we roped you in.
Yeah.
Then we roped you into it.
I was like really excited as well because like it was just exciting seeing you explore like that kind of aspect. And I was like, oh my god, someone who can like join in on it with me as well.
Yeah, which was also really exciting. And like we made a day of it. Like it was like we stayed over the night and stuff. It was good. It was fun. I tried on the skirts. I was like, oh yeah, cool. This is interesting. This is different. It was a bit weird, a bit odd experience. Because again, I just never wore anything like that. I very much was I was always dressed in the way of, this is how I've always dressed since I was a child and nothing has changed. And also in 2019, I also realized that I dressed the same way as a 32-year-old dad. Which is shorts and a t-shirt with a picture of something from the 80s to now. And I'm like, damn. 2020 was also the year I started experimenting with fashion, and by saying that, I mean I bought flannel.
Yeah.
Which a friend of the show was like, when I brought it up to them, they're like, isn't that like a lesbian thing? And I'm like, I don't know. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of it being a lesbian thing. I've kind of seen it around as like just a thing that people wear. Because Alex Hirsch wore it, and I'm like, I like that look.
It's like a kind of like old Tumblr lesbian kind of thing. It's like if you wanted a character to be a lesbian, you just throw a flannel on her.
Yeah. And then when I brought it up to my parents, I was going to wear flannel. They're like a bogan. And I'm like, wow, everyone has different connotations. I think lumberjack.
Flannel has so many different connotations.
I think lumberjack or grunge 90s.
Because like that's how my parents first responded when I wanted flannel as well. They're like, oh, like isn't that what bogans wear? And I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. What are you talking about? I just like how it looks.
Yeah, it's good. And I was like, yeah, and again, like it was Alex Hirsch being like, a person I very much look up to. You wear a thing, I will wear thing. And that was an experience of like, yeah, good. But yeah, so like again, trying on the skirts, and I was like, yeah, this is a different experience because you know it's not shorts and t-shirt. It's like, oh, it's a lot flowy, and I was having so much fun spinning around on the skirt.
You were having such a good time.
That was a lot of fun. And then at the end of the night, I tried on the maid outfit. Now, this was a very monumental moment for me because I put it on and I looked in the mirror, and my brain was like, "Oh, hey, you look cute." Ding! I was an asterisk again. Let's follow down to the bottom of this page. This is the first time I'd ever had that thought about myself. Only very recently, within the past year, I had ever been actually called cute by someone who wasn't some form of family member and or, like, in that tangential relation of, like, we've known you since you were a child type thing. Like, the first person that someone who was my age and actively semi-interested in me did refer to me as cute, but I didn't believe that about myself because I had incredibly low self-esteem. So for me, to call myself cute, now that was a point of concern and intrigue. Full stop. And that was the start of me realizing that I was a femboy.
Yeah, we're in the femboy arc.
I don't know how much. I don't quite like when I was there. That's only because it feels weird now. And it felt weird at the time, but I couldn't place what it was.
Yeah.
I was like,
it
something's
just feels
not
a lot
right
more
here.
weird in retrospect.
But hey, it's an important step to have.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go through it. Some people, like, a lot of people go through it like it's a stopover point. It's just a stopping point, and that's good too. It's all fine either way. Just for me, it ended up being a stopping point. And there was that element of, like, there's something off about this, but I can't tell what it is. A little bit of guilt and shame, but that's just upbringing. But that wasn't the main thing. I was like, there's something off here. Something titty shaped, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
Something holdable and squishy.
Something around my chest height, and I can't quite. But anyway, I didn't have, like, that's kind of where I was. So I guess we could jump back to you if you had anything happen in the first half of 2021.
In the first half of 2021, jeez. What happened in I don't remember a thing from 2021, I gotta be honest.
That's
like,
okay, I'll just jump
general.
back to me.
I mean, especially in gender, I was just like, I don't know, like, I was, like, pretty well into hormone therapy, so I was, like, getting a lot more confident with myself, except my voice was very scratchy and squeaky, and I hated that about it. There's old, like, recordings of me, like, on your channel as well.
On my channel? Bullshit.
Yeah. It's like in the latter half of, like, when I was still adjusting to my voice.
Okay.
But especially in the very early stages, because, like, it's basically going through puberty. So, like, it fucks up your voice for a good bit because you're still adjusting to how it sounds. And it's really, like, honestly only been recently that I've been able to, like, gain control back with it again. But, like, it was because, like, it's just what testosterone does. It just changes the shape of it all. So it was, like, getting really, like, cracky and scratchy, and, like, I was now talking in a lower register that I just wasn't used to, and it felt very unnatural, and it felt like that for a very long time. And it still feels like that every now and then. Like, I'll catch myself off guard, and I'm like, why is the bass in my voice that booming? That doesn't feel right. But, like, it was, like, that was probably, like, the part I liked the least about going on hormone therapy, at the time at least. It's just because, like, I couldn't keep control of my voice for just a while. Because, like, I was still fitting into the shoes. I was still breaking it in. But that was kind of, like, the most, as far as I can remember, that's the most eventful thing that happened in 2021. So back to you.
It's very funny looking at the YouTube channel because it goes from, like, all the other stuff. The first video that you're in. Then it's another video of you. Then it's, like, the 12 Days of Christmas things I was doing. Then it's just you.
Yeah.
Like,
the first one I was in was Bed Wars.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Which
My
was in
voice
2021.
Oh, was that 2022 then?
No, 2021 was the actually winning Bed Wars.
Oh, okay. Which? Okay, yeah.
That was streamed and then the highlight edited around about the same time. So yeah, it would have been like May 2021.
Yeah, no, I was still very much adjusting to my new voice, and, like, you can kind of hear it because like I wasn't talking an awful lot because like I wasn't used to being on stream for one, but for two I was also just like I don't like how my voice sounds right now, so I'm just not
Time
going to
has
say much.
changed.
Oh boy, I much
Times-
like how my voice sounds now a bit better.
Well, I'm glad we're doing a podcast. It's actively just voice work. But actually, that video is an interesting point. So we'll get back to me for my little story.
Yeah, because that's a milestone.
Yeah, whoops. A funny one. But pretty much around about April, like end of April, because I would my job at the time I was pizza delivery, so it was a lot of driving by myself with my thoughts and podcasts. So I was having a great time, the fucking best. But there was a good 2 weeks in which there was a voice in the back of my head just being like, "Hey, I think you're trans," and I'm like, "No." "Hey, I think you're trans," and I'm like, "No, that doesn't make any sense." "Hey, I think you're trans." "No, I have for 2 weeks straight," and then at the end of it, I was like, "Okay, I don't think I'm trans, but it might be something in that category because I can't just be thinking this for 2 weeks straight, so not, you know." And then I was kind of like working it out a little bit. The first person I think I talked about was with Eric as well, just being like, "Hey," because I had Okay, here's a fun story. You, Eric, and my therapist all learnt about this within like the same 12 hours. Maybe a bit longer, but within 24 hours, you three knew.
Yeah.
Because yeah, so I was like, "Hey, this is kind of happening." But before I did that, I should actually tell the story in order. It's a bit jumbled because in my brain I was like, fuck, I don't remember as much of the story as I used to because it's been fucking 2 years.
Yeah.
Damn
I
it.
like granted
I should make notes.
2022, 2021, both those years are just such mind fucks for me, especially.
Fair enough. Can't wait to
Yeah.
add this year to the pile.
Yeah. 2022 is like it's a little bit of a mind fuck, but not as much.
It's kind of coated in Sonic.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say was, before, like, when I was kind of like, okay, what are some words that I know? It's like, what are some words that I know without doing any research as of right now? What are some words that I think might fit me better that isn't just trans? And the word I kind of fell on was kind of gender fluid, and I was like, oh, okay. And then going through TikTok, there was like a clip from like a Finsta stream where someone's like, "Hey, where'd you get them titties?" And they're like, "Oh, Amazon." And I'm like, ah. So then I looked it up, and there they were, and I was like, And I was looking it up, and I was looking it over, being like, okay, but I really got to actually tell someone before I do anything. That's insane. And then I told Eric, and Eric's like, oh, well, you should use pronouns. Like, pronouns are a very good test to see how you're feeling and to work out where your feelings lie. And I'm like, ah. Looking over at the titties, looking back over at Eric's chat, I'm like, fuck. I did this in the wrong order.
Pronouns were the last thing on your mind at the time.
No, well, they were not even considered. I was like, oh yeah, the thing I'm supposed to. Shit.
Yeah.
How am I bad? Alright, which is where the classic phrase of "I really fell down the stairs of a gender crisis." At the first step is pronouns, and the step 12 is, and like the last step is titties. I went brrr, dung. So that was fun, and then I immediately met up with you because we were doing photos.
Yeah.
And while I was
that's
there,
right.
I was like, "Hey, guess who's probably trans? I got a therapy appointment to go to after we do these photos." And then I went to the therapy appointment and been like, "Hey, guess who's trans? What are your thoughts?" And my therapist was very encouraging to be like, "Try it out. Go for it. Go nuts." And I'm like, "Hey, is it a clever idea to buy titties?" I wasn't that confident or abrasive, or not abrasive, that's not the right word. It was like, I wasn't that just saying shit. I was a lot more nervous about it, but it was It was fun. That would have been an interesting experience for you.
It was a funky experience.
Yeah.
Because, like, especially, like, when I meet people, like, because I know some people who, like, they have, like, crazy gaydar. Like, they could tell immediately as soon as they meet someone,
Again,
like, what they are.
me coming out, like, me properly sending a message to you, Eric, and Charlie's response being like, I fucking knew it.
Right? For me, it's like, I've kind of got it. I can kind of get, like, the vibes that someone gives off that they may be queer in some way. But I never really, like, put enough thought into it to be like, yeah, they might be something. I'm kind of just like, that's their name. And if they end up being queer, or if they end up telling me that they're queer later on, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier.
Yeah, I'm better at it than I used to be because now I understand what queer means, and I'm like, oh, that feeling. Okay, that makes sense. There we go. So I'm not 100% perfect, but I'm able to do it I'm able to do it enough to get me by. To look at someone wearing a sweater vest being like, that's straight as fuck all.
I mean, like, there's some times where I'm just kind of awful at it because when I'm meeting people, I kind of just subconsciously just turn off, like, any, like, stereotypes that I may be aware of. Just,
which is a good thing.
which is a good thing. However, on the flip side, I can, like, meet queer people and then I'm just like, it totally doesn't even cross my mind, even if there's so many signs yelling at me, just being like, this
They're
person
actively making
is
out
so
with the same
fucking
gender,
queer.
being like,
Because, like, for example, this is a
vibe.
recent thing. There was someone I met, like, from TAFE, and we were in the same placement, and, like, like, we talked on and off, and, like, like the person, like, was kind of flamboyant. I didn't really think anything of it. Eventually, at some point, we and, like, a few other people were meeting up, and that person and everyone around us is talking about, like, the different aspects in which we're queer. And I'm like, I feel so fucking stupid right now. Of course this person is. Why didn't I think that?
that's funny.
It's like the only way I knew that the other people in the group were queer themselves is because they either A, had, like, specific pride flags on their laptops, or B, they explicitly say that they're queer in some way.
But yeah, so that like
Yeah, I went off on a bit of a tangent there.
that's all good. No, but so that the video we were talking about, the actually winning bed wars, that one's an interesting one because that is the first time I said anything, like, out loud recorded, and at the time I was like, I think I'm gender fluid, and it was very funny to come out to Kyron in a Bed Wars live stream.
Oh my god.
And then separately, I made a joke about being bi, and I went back and watched that VOD recently. It's fine. There are some good bits in there. There's some bits I'm like, I would have cut this down a lot more. Just in the sense of, like, oh, it fucking drags a little bit here and there in the editing, but alright. But also, editing VODs it's so funky. Anyway, but there was a moment in there that I'd still fucking like, of me being like, yeah, well, I'm also bi. Ah, shit. Karen's just like, yep.
He's just there.
Fair enough. It was very funny because there was the thing I was like, yeah, I'm probably gender fluid, and I think it was like, yeah, what a funny way to come out to you, Karen. And Karen's like, yeah, I kind of figured something was up. And I'm like, fuck, you're great. If you want to hear the story in a bit more of a succinct way, check out the Pride Cut 2022 stream I did last year.
Doesn't that still need to be, like, edited into, like, a highlights?
Don't put words in my mouth that were probably my words years ago. Don't re-put words in my mouth that I probably put but I don't remember. I'm just doing whatever with my VODs. Whatever I vibe with, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it when I feel up for it.
Just do whatever.
Yeah. One day I'll do Doki Doki.
One day it'll happen.
One day we'll continue streaming that. Fucking hell. We haven't done it since September.
Shit.
Whoops.
Oopsies. Anyway.
But yeah, no, so what were we up to? That was about May. I got the titties, we're cool. Like
We start touching your titties.
I'm gonna leave that in. That's staying in. That's not going anywhere. That's funny.
It's just funny to do it.
I mean,
And
hey,
like you explicitly allow it, so I'm like, I can't do this with anyone else, so I'm gonna do it with you.
yeah, no, hey, it's just like, no, I get it. It's fine. You sit there being like, titties fun to fidget with, and I'm like, well, I have titties, and you need to fidget all the time.
Yeah.
So it's just one of the things.
I'm fidgeting right now. You just can't see it.
Oh, you speak for yourself.
I don't like that.
Fuck. Fuck, what are we up to? 2020.
So, you're gender fluid, you've got titties.
Gender fluid, got titties. Then I was chatting to Eric, and Eric's like, hey, I think it might be bi-gender, given how you talk about this. Again, up to you, but here's my read. Here's some reading to do, and then I read up on it. I'm like, nah, that sounds very accurate. I'm bi-gender now. Because I didn't quite associate with they, them. I was like, I don't know if that's for me. That doesn't feel quite right. I don't know. I don't know about that one. So I was bi-gender for the longest time, and I was pretty happy with that one. You know, and I was like, you know, buying my first, like, dress, and which is a Pokemon dress. It's very fun. But, like, you know, I was, like, buying some stuff, starting to get my clothing around, hiding it from my parents, trying to move out as soon as I could. Yeah, because... But, yeah, no, it's very much, like, just... It's kind of where it stayed for a bit. It stayed very bi-gender up until around 2022.
I mean, yeah, like, my identity was pretty static at that point in time, at least.
So I guess we're going back to... I don't know if there's too much for you to say on your side of the story.
I'm trying to, like... What am I up to? You just edit this part out because I'm just like looking through.
No, I would leave it in because we fucking love radio silence.
Fair. So which point in the timeline are we at now?
Well, we're about to hit my second gender crisis.
Okay, which year is this again?
2022.
Okay. So like 2022 does get a bit more eventful for me. In a couple aspects, one very, very good, one very, very bad.
Oh.
But 2022 is the year that I got top surgery.
Woo!
Which is like a pretty big deal. It's a massive milestone. It is also something that just took so long just to like get to the point of being like, yeah, that this is what I want. Like, fifth doctor I've seen in the past 2 months. That's definitely what I want to happen. I think it must have
Take
been
him away, boys.
Take him away, boys.
Fuck.
So yeah, at this point, I was pretty confident in my identity. I think, I can't believe I don't fucking remember which month it was, but I'm pretty sure it was May 2022 that I got top surgery. A little bit before that, I also, turns out I have type 1 diabetes, is what I found out.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
Any representation too close to the sun.
Oh my god.
Oh, fuck.
It was like such a big clusterfuck of mixed feelings as well, because I was going through all of these appointments to be like, is this what you want? Yep, this is what I want. Okay, here's some more paperwork you need to fill out. Okay, cool. Here's some more convoluted shit you need to figure out as well. Go see another doctor. So I'm doing all that, and I'm like getting regular blood tests because I'm on like testosterone as well. And I see my GP at one point, and my blood sugar levels are abnormally high. And she's like, do you have diabetes? And I'm like, no. And she's like, I think you have diabetes, dude. We're gonna do another blood test on you. And like, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember if I've told the diabetes story before. But it was
I don't
like,
think you have. I don't think you have.
probably not, but like, just keeping it short, it's like, I found out that I have type 1 diabetes, and it was awful. It was an awful thing to find out. Because once that happened, the thing I immediately started thinking about afterwards was like, is this going to affect my surgery? Like, I'm still good. I know I'm still gonna qualify for it, but like, is it going to affect the way my body is gonna heal? So it was like those constant like anxious thoughts just going in and out of my head. It was like, oh god, like what? Why now of all times do I have to get this? But luckily it turned out to be okay because it was caught very, very early on, and like it is kind of abnormal to fucking get type 1 diabetes when you're in your 20s, because that's usually something you get when you're in your single digits instead. But no, I got it in my 20s. It was caught pretty early on, so they were able to actually do things about it, and my surgery ended up being very, very good. And my results are very, very good. I'm very, very happy with my chest right now. And I am more than 1 year post-op, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Actual process of the surgery, I fucking hated it, though. Because, like, before I even went into surgery, I had to fast. Which isn't a great mix when you're diabetic. Especially when you're an insulin-dependent diabetic. So yeah, I had to fast the night before, so like no fluids, no eating, and then I go into the hospital the morning after. I wanted to make sure it was like right in the morning as well, and right as they're like doing the IV drips on me, and they're like actually preparing me to go into the operating room. I start to feel a bit shaky, and I'm like, hey, I think my blood sugar is going low. And the nurse is like, wait, really? Now? And I'm like, yeah, now. Can I have a juice?
Oh no.
And they had to delay the surgery by like, I don't know, like half an hour or something. And I'm like, I feel awful right now. But like, it ended up being okay. I woke up from the surgery and I had a moment of panic because like I had never experienced anesthetic before. So like I woke up and it felt like it went way too quickly. So I was like, did they even do it? I was very worried that they kind of just stopped it and they didn't even do anything. So I like very frantically started like touching my chest and I was like, oh no, thank fuck it's flat. Yeah. And then I went into my recovery room and I threw up twice while I was in there. It was definitely a long process of just healing from it and worrying that my nipples were going to fall off. That was fun.
Yeah, that's a scary thing. I'll be honest. I don't think like a lot of people tend to have that fear, and to be in a situation in which that's just a possibility, scary.
Not many people in general fear their nipples falling off, but I have seen a lot of other like transmasc and non-binary people who have had top surgery have had the fear of being like, oh god, what if my nipples fall off?
I explicitly kept voting for anyone, and every time it happens, I'm like, I'm doing top surgery, and I'm like, cool, nips or no nips? What are you thinking? And every time they were like, nips, and I'm like, fair enough. Boring answer, but fair enough, I get it. I understand.
I've known a few people who have gone for no nips.
Why haven't I?
I don't know.
This is ridiculous. Anyway.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, but yeah, no, like my nipples have turned out fine. At least I don't know why. Like, it cracks me up. Nipples is just kind of a fun word to say. It's like my nipples are gonna fall off.
Oh no, not my nipples. No. That's another T-shirt. Oh
god, it is. That was 2022 for me though.
Okay.
That was kind of like the most events that happened for me in 2022. Um, oh, like something you did like mention to me a while back was like,
I just added in the note for t-shirt ideas.
yes, but yeah, you said once before that like before I was on top surgery, I was wearing like big hoodies and like
It was
baggy
really
jumpers all the
weird.
time.
Like, it was a very weird experience after, like when you started to actively recover a lot more and you can actively do a bit more things. Seeing you in just a t-shirt, because prior to that, I don't think I'd ever seen you outside of like maybe like a pajama t-shirt. Aside from that, it's always hoodies.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
'cause,
I
like that's
so heavily associated you with hoodies. Either your
oh
green
yeah,
one or your, was it a pink one?
I think.
Those are
Oh,
your
I
two
think it was a
colors.
red one actually.
Red, yeah. No, yeah. You had
Yeah,
the green one that was very key. It
yeah,
was
I wore
very
that one
much
everywhere.
associated to you.
It was just nice and baggy. The air flowed through it pretty well. Because like that was something I didn't even really touch on weirdly. 'Cause, for some reason it just totally slipped my mind because I don't have titties anymore. But
Yeah.
like out of all like my gender dysphoria experiences, like the worst part of it was like my chest dysphoria because fun fact about my early puberty experiences was that I experienced mine abnormally early compared to everyone else. So that definitely contributed to part of like the early gender dysphoria experience. But like chest dysphoria was also just the worst aspect for me, especially. Uh, and like, so like I couldn't really do anything in the early years until eventually like I was just able to buy my own binder, and like I bought a few binders, and I wore them for probably like exactly 2 years, and then I got sick of them very quickly, and I was like, I hate how they feel. They're too warm. I can't run in them. It's hard to breathe. Like I can't take big deep breaths while wearing them anyway.
And that's
So
your
I'm just
favorite
gonna
activity.
yeah.
You
So
love
I'm
just
just
going.
gonna so I'm just gonna wear like giant baggy jumpers and hoodies, apart from rare occasions where I'll need to wear something that's a bit more tight fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just looked like that for a long time.
It's really interesting trying to reflect back on like a time I used to be able to like slot down my entire life story of like everything. But now I've just hit a point where I'm just like, fuck it, whatever. There's so much shit
Yeah.
happened. My 2022, there was a fun moment in which I was sitting there because I also realized at the end of 2021 that I was on the asexual spectrum. I still haven't worked out
Yes.
fucking where, but it's there.
It's somewhere.
It's and that one was the worst one for me to realize.
Hmm.
Only in the sense of everything else felt like an opportunity for me, an opportunity for exciting new things. But this is the first one, and not the only one, but this is the first one that kind of felt like it was taking things away from me, which I didn't like. As a person who turns out wants to do everything, oh no, like which was a thing I was very much grappling with, and I was thinking about it a lot in 2022. I still am, but it was the thing I was thinking about it, being like, yeah, and then I felt something at the back of my head, and I'm like, no, that's something else. What the fuck are you? And it slowly moved further to like the center of my brain, and being like, no, you've been here for like a month. I know you've been here. I've recognized you. What are you? And then it was like, ba-da-da-da, it's they, them pronouns, so you're getting rid of the he, him. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
They just sneak up on you.
What? And it completely blindsided me, except for the fact I'd felt it for a month. I was like, what the fuck are you? Who are you? Takes off the mask. They, them pronouns. I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for your meddling kids and your little dog. I did get rid of your he, him pronouns though. And I'm like,
Yeah.
shit. That was another moment of like, oh no, that's taking something away from me. Ooh, and I had to really, that one hit me hard because I had to really just sit down and collect my feelings. Because a lot of times, because I, you know, like seeing in queer spaces and chatting to people, a lot of times when something like this tends to happen, that people are just like, yeah, you just kind of throw it away, scrap it for parts, and you take what you like and you move on. And I was like, that feels too harsh. That feels way too harsh for me. And so what I did was I just kind of sat down with myself. I just sat down for like half an hour in a corner of my room, and I just kind of let a scene play out between 3 characters, one being they, them, one being she, her, and one being he, him, and been like, right. And I obviously, because I did personify them, scrapping a living creature for parts, no, that's not for me. And so I was like, I just had a scenario, just run through it, and eventually that led to the conclusion of, I now accept the fact that I am letting go of these pronouns. They will leave some of their luggage with me that I will use with they, them, and some cases she, her. But those pronouns are going to go off to find someone else who needs them. And that made me feel a lot better about letting go.
It's a really lovely way of looking at it.
Because it meant that I wasn't like, you know, I was able to let go. It was able to still help someone, and it was able to give me some form of peace, which is how I came to peace with that. So that was the next big thing, which is like now I really have to come out to my parents at some point. So that was fun. That was cool. What else happened? I got my second set of titties. That happened that year.
The big unit.
Yeah, I got because the titties I buy, they aren't particularly designed. Like, the whole thing with them is like the silicone stuff. The whole thing with them is the fact that most people just have hormones. Most people just go in that direction, or use like socks or other things to fill out the bra. I really went just like go hard or go home with it, and then I wanted to, and that because there's like 3 types. There's like the smaller ones that are like these like different things that aren't quite silicone. Then there's the silicone individual tits or like breasts, and then there's what I call the unit, which is a big silicone like thing that goes from like the neck or just under the neck, depending on which one you buy, all the way down to like the ribs, or just like not like the whole ribs, but like again depends on whatever one you buy and your size and so on and so forth. I bought one of those, which is actively designed for drag queens, but I was like, but I have money and I am curious. And it has been an interesting purchase for me. And, well, because one hand, it's been good. There's been a lot of good stuff have come from it. The other hand, it has pushed me more towards the idea of getting estrogen and going on hormones and stuff like that. Because that was another thing I decided kind of at the end of that year, was just being like, yeah. And it was like a thing of like, I was having conversations with you. I was having... with Eric and Charlie and other people and my therapist and stuff, just being like, and my cousins as well, and just being like, this is where I'm thinking about going. I don't know. How was the experience for you guys? And well, it went. Yes, they're going to be very different. Testosterone is very different to estrogen, and they have very different side effects, but, you know, what was the experience for you guys like? And the conversation with you was the one that kind of nailed it on the head. That was kind of like, yeah, no, it was when I was chatting to you about it, and you were just sitting there being like, yeah, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was a thing of like, yeah, no, while there are definitely not consequences, like there are definitely side effects you'd rather not want, it was am I going to be happy? Like, is the overall product of what the benefits are, they going to outweigh the negatives, and is it going to make me feel like me? Is it going to make me feel good? Like, I can't remember your exact wording. You said something really...
I do remember that. I think it was something along the lines of, like, is it overall going to make you happier? Like, will the positives outweigh the negatives?
Yeah, and I was like, shit, you right.
Yeah. Because, like,
Um,
that's the most frustrating thing about hormone replacement therapy is, like, you can't pick and choose what you want.
no, if you could, fuck, perfect
It would be
world.
amazing, but it's just
I'd
not
have
how it
rocket
is.
legs. Fly around.
Yeah, because, like, it
Be
was a
too
thing
good
for
at
me as well.
basketball.
Because, like, testosterone just, it does a lot of, like, permanent effects to you. And there's a lot of things that I got from testosterone that I would rather not have had. But they are what I have, so I kind of just have to live with it and manage it with whatever I can.
Yeah, and it's a thing of I'm starting, or at least trying to get my journey on to start working my way to seeing what I can do with hormones. Can I actually do it? How, like, going to see the 20, 30 psychologists and doctors and stuff to be like, hello, I would like thing, please, give me. Um, yeah, 2022 kind of ended with second tits, us becoming closer as friends,
Oh, yeah.
us uploading this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh fuck! What? I think we're kind of because, yeah, this is gonna be a long episode. We kind of figured it's the gender episode. It's
Yeah.
literally gonna be called the gender episode.
The gender episode.
But yeah, no. I guess like the next thing. I have one more. I have one more thing, but I will kind of leave that for the end.
Yeah.
But for you, what happened? Like, because, well, I could. I guess I could. If is there anything else from 2022? Because the next thing for me is my name.
Oh, yeah. 2022, no. It's just stuff from 2023 from here on.
Cool. Do we want to do my name thing now, or do we want to get into 2020? I guess 2023 is like where we are now, and I think that kind of. I think that's where we're kind of up to now. It's just like where we are now, and I'll go first to stuff of like. So for a bit at the end of 2022, I was trying out names. I started to try out because I don't dislike the name Connor. I don't feel it feels a bit weird, but I don't feel dysphoria about it. And so there's like other things that I've been like, why didn't I like my armpit hair? I absolutely hated it, and I have no idea why. Like with such visceral energy, I just don't It's dysphoria. Oh, that makes a lot of sense actually. There's a lot of those stuff. But also my name, I never really felt dysphoric about it, but at a certain point. It wasn't quite fitting. And I wanted to, and I was like, okay, well, what am I thinking? What's going to be my next step? And I was started to write up a list of names, so to try it out with a few people, and then coincidentally, I had joined a Minecraft roleplay server thing called the Wasteland HMP for my streaming stuff. I joined along. I was like really late submission. Like someone dropped down. They're like, "We need another person." I'm like, "Oh fuck it, I'll join in." And I jumped in, and it's like a role play, like this like thing, like it's like a vague story of like it's improving your story as you go along. It's fun, whatever. You can plan stuff, but whatever, it's fun. It's similar to the Last Life, Limited Life, like Third Life, that type of series of things. And all the VODs are up on the channel. There's a link to the VODs channel in the description anyway. But like, with that one, in like the first episode, someone was like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I just stared at them blankly because I'm like, do I say my old name, or do I say the new name I'm trying out? I don't know, because I'm not 100% settled on the new name yet. I like it, but it's not quite fitting me, unfortunately. It's not the right colour as it was before. My old name, I'm kind of trying to do something different. And then this was a silence, and you can act, because all the VODs are there, you can watch this moment play out.
Oh, yeah.
And to which they're like, "Oh, so you have a name?" And it's like, you good? Nope, I have no name at all. I have bad memory. That's my character's thing. I don't remember my name.
Off into the hole you go.
And then, and like a couple sessions later, I meet more people as they come into the server, and I met a lovely person named Army. And they were sitting there being like, they're like, well, what's your name? And I'm like, don't have one. They're like, well, I'll change that and I'll give you a name. I'm like, all right. And they were trying out like a few like silly ones. I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I don't know. Because my online handle for like games and stuff is what's their face, because funny. And I was like, well, that's a fun, creative way to put that name into a story. It's like, what's their face down the street? I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that's a fun way to do that. And then like maybe like the second stream with them or the third stream with like Army, they just like looked at me and went like, Caramel. And I'm like, huh. I don't hate that. All right, okay, let's give that a go. Let's try that out for this one, which then was shortened to Cara, and and I was like, yeah, this is fun, this is good. I'm like, fuck, this name's really good actually. I really like this one. Because a part of the thing with names is very much depending on like what you're looking for. So like, and the vibe you want to go with and what you want to show yourself as to the world. You want to find a name that's very much you. Now, for some reason, the femininity I wanted to present, which it was a thing of like, not for some reason, it's for some reason in the sense of, it caught me off guard, because I wasn't expecting it, but all my names had that category of, this is what it needs to represent. I'm like, shit, alright. Because usually, how would you describe my femininity?
Femininity, like with extra steps, but also not really any at all.
I don't know how to feel about that. I'm like, not bad. Fuck. What? How do I?
It's like you're trying to walk up 2 flights of stairs. One of them is being a girl and the other is being non-binary, but like you're trying to walk up both of them at the same time and they're going in opposite directions.
Yeah. Yeah, also when I realized the they, them, she, her, I dropped the bi-genderedness, because I was like, yeah, it's not a label that fits me anymore, which is okay. That's a thing as well. That's all good. You could change labels all the fucking time. It's all good. It's all fine. I saw a great video recently. It's a video titled "The Sex and the Revolution."
Oh yeah, you told me about that one.
Yeah, no, it's really good. And there's a great moment. There's an interesting moment where they talk about like, and you can agree with it or not. You find your own stance on it. Watch the video. I'll probably link it, because I guess I'm just recommending things now. But they do talk about the thing of like, it's kind of an interesting point. It's kind of unfortunate that we've accidentally, as a queer group, or as like the LGBTQIA plus thing of like, we have unfortunately, in trying to defend ourselves, backed ourselves into a corner with the "I was always born this way," because that implication implies not changing, but it's okay to change. We also actively in the community say, hey, if you're like, I'm bi, and then realize later, shit, I was a lesbian the whole time, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Like, that's all good, or vice versa. Or you're like, I'm non-binary, or you'll be like, I'm trans. Like, well, I am, but not. I'm more non-binary. I'm in. This is my main label, but these ones do fall under that category. Or just anything. You can pick anything. You pick whatever makes you feel right, which is why I haven't settled on whatever my sexuality one is, because I haven't found anything that quite fits me, because I'm a unique individual.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I definitely agree. It is really unfortunate. It is really unfortunate because, like, a lot of, like, cis people I meet, like, cis and het people I meet, especially in older groups, they kind of just expect you to stick with a label, and like if you change at any point, they're like a gasp.
They're
They're
also
like,
like,
"What?"
like it's either like a gasp or like, your argument has fallen.
Yeah.
And it's
Like,
like,
no, I can
I'm just
change
like
at any
a
point.
person, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just like a guy, you know?
Why are you putting my
Man.
labels before me, you know?
It's also okay to have no labels. Fuck it. That also
Yeah.
rules. That's also fun to be like, no thank you, I'm not labeled. I'm not labeled at all.
Yeah.
That's also an equally good thing. And, you know, pick your labels. Like, just make sure that you're comfortable and that you feel good about yourself when you have that thing. Don't feel pressured to be in anything, so on and so forth. Where was I up to in my story? What was I saying about?
New name.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, with my names, I was like, the femininity that weirdly was coming across when I was looking at my names, because two other names I was looking at was Tessa and Robin. So, you know, you guys can take it if you want. Go at it,
For
have
grabs.
fun. But they're not the ones I'm taking. I've got Cara. Don't take it. Well, you can. I don't care. It's fine. Whatever. But like with those names, like Tessa, Robin, and Cara, those all names for me speak to a femininity of I'm nice and kind, but don't fuck with me.
Yes. I do remember you telling me about like that specific description.
It's crazy that like, because that's not the femininity I usually present. I'm very, again, a marshmallow with a side of soft.
Yeah.
But like, but for that to be the name variety I decided to go with, I was like, oh, shit, alright. And same with my gender playlist. It's the same vibe, and I'm like, what is this? How did I get here? What? Alright, sure. But yeah, no, so very much... Yeah, so that's the name I'll be going with on the channel, and actually, that's another interesting point. This podcast is gonna go fucking forever, but I swear, this will not be the longest episode. I pray. I pray for editing me. But... Fuck, what was I just saying? Oh no, so here's the thing. So, some people very much... I have accidentally put myself in an odd situation in which I couldn't, like... I actively have a point that I don't want to delete anything off the YouTube channel. I don't, like, unless it's actively harmful, which luckily I haven't done anything, at least to my knowledge. I haven't done anything like that. I haven't, like... done anything that is actively harmful, actively, like, bad in any way. There's stuff that I'm like, I was young, so I don't feel particularly great about this, and just a thing of like, yuck. But I don't want to delete it ever. Because that feels like a very important thing, and anyone can go back to it at any point and watch the videos from this channel, my old channel. Would I recommend it? This channel, yes, there's some good ones here. Old channel, probably not. No one's too interested in a teenager trying to do Minecraft videos. Circa the 2010s decade. But
How
like,
old were you? Like 13 or something?
I was 13 when I started the channel. I was 16 when I ended it. It's a good amount of time. There's like at least 100 videos on that channel.
Damn.
Yeah, no, it was good. I liked making videos. But, I mean, I'm still doing it.
Yeah.
You're listening to, and I guess you're kind of watching it, it's got a visual to it. It's right now. Whoa. Woo. But, like, because, like, some people, when they're able, they can scrub a dead name or their old name off of the face of the earth, and that's good. Like, if you can and you want to, go for it. But it was a very interesting thing where I was thinking about it, and like, I could never, because I have vowed that I will not do anything, because I will not delete videos, because that makes me feel bad. I put in effort. There's like a 2-parter movie reviews I did in 2019. I reckon I would probably disagree with a good third of those reviews now. But I'm not deleting it, and don't watch it. It's not interesting. But I'm not deleting it because why would, like, there's no point. It's like, it's just removing things. Like, hey, remember that video you watched? You can never see it again. That sucks. I hate censorship. I hate that shit. So,
Yeah.
in actively making sure, I'm like, oh, my name will be there forever, but that's okay. I will just move on from here as Cara. That's just how it will work, and I'm like, cool. That's chill. That's fun. That's exciting. You know, like, that's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be very interesting. And now you can actually call me by the name you've been using for me for a good half of just over 6 months.
Hell yeah.
You can actually use this name on the fucking content, so that way when I do the little intros, I'm not like, this feels weird. Anyway, that's kind of where I am now. I'm actively looking to try and start my journey on hormones if I can, and if that's the journey I end up making. I say a lot of ifs because I don't want to be 100% definitive, but that is the next steps for my little journey.
Yeah.
I've got my name picked out. I have come out to my parents. That's still... It's gotten a lot nicer. There was a nice comment today where my mum offhandedly mentioned about the woman that I will grow into being. So that was
Aw.
nice.
That's really sweet.
Still a lot of a journey to go, but we're getting there, and that's lovely.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm up to, is just kind of making sure I'm doing that stuff. Got my name, I got 3 sets of titties, I got a second one, I got a second set of the first ones because they were breaking, which was very a weird experience. Let me tell you, the weird experience and feeling of seeing your titties break, it's something you'll never believe. It's something that rare few will ever experience. Anyway, we should come back to you.
Yeah.
How's your...
Yeah,
How are you going? Because, oh, shit. Yeah, alright.
Yeah, because, like, I've had a few developments this year.
You sure have.
I sure have. So, like, earlier in the year, I was, like, feeling kind of just funky in general about my gender, because for the longest time, it was kind of just, like, I'm a binary guy, and, like, that's it. I'm not really non-binary in any way, because I just don't really identify with that at all. Come around 2023... I start to look more into the term genderqueer, and I start to really like the term genderqueer, because, like, what genderqueer is like, the way I see it summarized online is that, like, it's a much, much older term for what non-binary means, basically. But I like how genderqueer sounds a bit more, because queer in and of itself is a much vaguer term. Because, like, it could just mean anything. So, like, my gender is just whatever if it's genderqueer. And it's, like, it's a really nice term, because I've never really ever identified with the term non-binary. Even though I kind of identify with the experience in some way, it's just not really ever been the label for me, as far as I know. But genderqueer definitely fits. Later on, gender was still feeling funky. And while I still like calling myself, like, genderqueer, transmasc, like the labels I've been using before, like, it was just basically like a whole mess of things of, like, how I'm perceiving myself, like, seeing the way others perceive themselves online and being like, I relate to that probably a bit too much for a transmasc person. And then, like, basically to summarize it, I find out that I really like the term gender fluid. And, like, that's kind of just been what I've been going as for a while now. So, like, for a long time, I was just using, like, like, vanilla, like, he, him pronouns.
A basic recipe.
You know, basic bitch, he, him pronouns. But, like,
Been there.
yeah. Now it's kind of just like, no, I just use whatever. It is whatever I'm feeling in that moment. And even before I landed on the term gender fluid, I was kind of toying with the idea of just being like, yeah, I use any pronouns. It's whatever the other person wants to go with. And it's like still kind of the same thing. With being gender fluid, it's just kind of funky. Cause like I actually like met another gender fluid person like fairly recently.
Fuck
And,
yeah.
yeah, and we were just talking about it because like we're like properly introducing ourselves to each other because we chatted before, but at that point we had time to just chat, and we could tell that each other was just queer in some way. So like they introduced themselves, like they asked me like, are you non-binary or gender fluid? I was like, gender fluid. And they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, me too. It was very fun. And we were just kind of like explaining what we experienced around. And the way they described it is that they know people who will like message them in the morning and just be like, hey, how are you doing? What pronouns are you using today? And they're like, I don't know. It can change like on the fly. And I was like, that's exactly how I feel. Cause like for me especially, like I could go between like months with just going with one specific gender or just gender identity in some way, whereas other times it will change like hourly, or like it can even change depending like on what music I'm listening to or like what stuff I'm looking at online. It like I obviously I don't have any control over it. It just happens. Like I mean, even the other day, it was just kind of like a back and forth of like, I'm feeling a bit more masculine. No, I'm feeling a bit more feminine. Nah, it's like it's probably androgynous. No, it's a bit more feminine today. But all of today instead, it's just be like, nope, I'm in full boy mode now.
Boy, 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 boy.
boy. But like,
That's another t-shirt.
and like being gender fluid, like it's been a really funky experience, even just figuring it out if I am, because the way I see it perceived online as well, it's just like, because like if you try to look up anything like gender fluid online, especially if you go on just like what is like the most popular stuff you would see for gender fluid things, it's honestly like pretty basic. It's there's a lot of TikToks where it's like gender fluid TikTok compilation, and it's basically just people switching back and forth between like feminine and masculine outfits. And I'm sitting there thinking like they're cool, but I don't know, is this what being gender fluid is? I'm not sure if that's what I am, if that's all there is to it. And so but the label was still sticking, so I just kind of tried to seek out more and more information about it, and I was like, oh, okay, it can be a lot of different things. It doesn't just mean like switching back and forth between like boy mode and girl mode. Like it can be a lot of things. Like you could be gender fluid between like being totally feminine and being like totally like not gendered at all. Like it really can be anything. And like I do also like gender fluid for the same reasons I like gender queers, that they're both kind of vague in their own different ways. I guess like not vague, but like they're open to interpretation, and they don't really need like any like solid to weigh them down, I guess. And I don't know what tangent I was going on, but like basically I like those terms.
No, I get it. Like, I don't, like, I do identify as, like, trans femme, and I do have that. I still can't get that metaphor out of the thing you were saying about my femininity of just, like, 1 foot in, like, the feminine side, 1 foot in the non-binary. Just, like, 2 escalators going in, like, different directions, and watching my legs part, and me being like, shit, 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 shit. But somehow making it work. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing this. And people watching me like, I can't get a read on that. Huh.
It's
Yeah,
like, are you okay?
I think so.
I think so.
Well, that's nice. Can someone chuck me up some titties and a sweater vest? Oh, that's both those genders. Yeah. But yeah, no, I like. Well, it's a thing of like, yeah, like I do have both. I do flow between them. I do very much like my basic rule for my end is like if I'm dressing femme, it's 100% she her. If I'm not dressing femme, like I'd they them works, but also it depends on the people.
Yeah, that is a big aspect of it as well. It really depends on like who you're actually talking to.
Yeah, like it will be strange when my parents eventually will end up using she her. That'll be odd. That was another fun thing I realized very early on when I was thinking about terms and stuff was just like I would want to be someone's wife. That sounds really nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And then I got giddy when I was like, that was a fun thing because I was chatting to my cousin who I also learned was queer. I was to think of like they had an offhanded reference to being non-binary, and I'm like, oh, I'm coming out to you tonight.
Yeah.
And then I got
It's funny you brought up. It's funny you brought up terms as well because like that was one of the main things that started getting me thinking like maybe I'm more gender fluid because like I was looking at one of the sites where it's like show like which pronouns you like and which ones you don't, show which terms you like and which ones you don't. And I was looking through them and I was like almost all the masculine terms I was like yep, they're all good. Most of the like androgynous or like gender neutral terms I was like yeah, they're all right. And I was like looking at the feminine terms and I was like girl, I don't hate that.
oh, that's always a scary moment of like, oh no.
Yeah. There are other
no.
terms where I viscerally hated just because I've like had awful experiences with them, but for the most part, most of them, like even ones I was looking at, I was like, I don't hate the term wife. That is strange for me. And I was like, all right, I guess that's going in the basket as well.
What's fun about that is I see it.
Yeah.
I understand, but I see it through like, no, I understand the context of you and wife and how they can work together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crazy, funky. For
Yeah.
me, I hated the word man. I never liked it. Even in my times of high school, it's just like, I'm just a guy. I'm not a man. Is that but ding, an asterisk? We've already read this page, so we don't need to read that again. We understand it, but it's a thing of like it was like that. I was always called handsome, but I never saw it, which is one, a combination of like the low self-esteem, which also probably was a factor of a few things, but two, it just didn't feel right, where now people can call me pretty, and that does feel really nice. That I'm like, no, this is the feeling I'm supposed to be getting. Ah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, no, I remember being giddy over the idea of being someone's girlfriend.
Yeah, it's so
That
cute.
was
Yeah.
fuck.
And like another thing that another pretty early thing that sent me spiraling down that path, which you witnessed as well, was me getting interested. This was like really, really early on as well. This is me getting interested in like voice training videos, but not for trans mask people. No, for trans femme people.
Yeah, that was. Well, I didn't. Okay, because I didn't witness that fully, but you mentioned it a few times. I was definitely there because at one point you were like, "Man, I gotta get in the voice training." I'm like, "Me too," and then I'm like, "Yeah, what's a fun activity we could do together?" Ha 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 ha. I add it to the list, and my little brain's like, I mean, you already have a pretty masculine voice, so I don't see. But whatever. It's just a fun activity with friends, and I really appreciate that. So I didn't care what the I don't know what your exact intentions were, but I was like, yeah, good.
Yeah. What like really sent it spiraling was like I personally just became fascinated with like the way different trans femme people were doing their voice training.
I'm gonna be woman.
And it wasn't necessarily in a way of like I'm gonna mimic them, because I was like, no, I'm not trans femme. Like I'm not gonna mimic them. It was more so just like I wonder if I can do something similar. And I was like trying to find something online, and like the closest thing I got was like I eventually just tried to look up like can you voice train yourself to like switch between like your masculine voice and your feminine voice easily. And it was kind of conclusive. I ended up like on some sort of subreddit where I think it must have been like the genderqueer subreddit, where someone was basically asking the same thing, and the replies were like, "Yeah, no, you can totally do that." And I was like, "Yes,
Oh,
I'm gonna do that."
Yeah, no, there's even like the trans femme spaces. Like it's very it's so interesting watching them. Like, either talk about it or just for a funny joke that they want to do. Like, do the swap of the voice. You're like, whoa, fuck.
It's especially fun because, like, one of my favorite content creators is a trans femme YouTuber. And, like, she's also a voice actor as well. So it's really fun, like, both watching how her voice training is just going across, as well as just, like... just randomly going into an entirely different voice that's just not her own. It's like, who is that? Oh, it's you.
Oh, fuck.
But yeah, I mean, like, I am like also just getting more confident with my voice, because like I don't really like how it sounds like when I get into like the real deep register like this. Like I'm kind of iffy on it, but I kind of just prefer talking in a higher register anyway, because like it's what I'm used to, and I just prefer how it sounds on me as well. So it's like it's mainly that, just kind of like working, kind of like, I guess, like in a similar way that like singers do, and I guess like trans femme people do as well. They're just training their voices to like speak in like a higher or like a wider range of pitches, which is pretty cool.
Because that's another thing too. I eventually want to try and work on voice training. Mostly, because again, I don't hate my voice, but it would be nice to have. Thank goodness I don't have voice dysphoria. Like, it'd be hard to make all these. But it would be a nice thing to try and do. Like, for like a couple reasons. Like, it's a thing like, yeah, it'd just be nice. But yeah, I think that's kind of where we are at the moment. I think we probably should end the episode.
We're all caught up.
I think we're all caught up. This episode's gonna be so dated. The episode's gonna be dated by the time we release it.
It probably is. Who knows?
Yeah, but hey, I'm glad we did this episode, and I'm very happy that it was good and it was nice, and I think we got to share a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But on that note, I've been Cara.
I've been Damon.
And it is time for us to say goodnight to our lovely listeners.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Please enjoy your sleep. Hug your shark plushie. Hug your body pillow. Hug the nearest person who is consenting to cuddle with you. Enjoy the gender bliss, the gender queer, the gender...
The gender bliss?
The gender bliss, yeah, the bliss of gender. Enjoy not having it. Enjoy having it too much. Enjoy it being very masculine or very feminine or very
gender euphoria?
vague.
Nah, gender bliss.
I guess I'll add another one to the t-shirt racket. I don't even know why are you making fun of me for it? I don't understand.
I'm not making fun of you for it. It's just It's just fun.
I knew there was gonna be bullying at the end of this fucking episode.